Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to my visual arts channel, Stractify. And in this second video, as I explained in the first introductory video, in the second video, we're going to kick things off by getting into the perspective drawing series. Okay, so we're going to start off with this sheet that I ended the last video with, where I talked about the positioning of these squares in relation to this horizontal line, which we will be calling the horizon line as we apply it to perspective. Okay, so we are going to get into, in our perspective series, we're going to thoroughly cover 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective. Okay, we're going to get into these three perspective techniques, and as somebody who's had a chance to teach perspective drawing at the college level for a number of years, I've come up with a few approaches that I find favorable and more impactful as I've taught over the years. And so what usually happens is that you get into a class or a book or whatever, and you get introduced to 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. What I started to do was start with 3-point perspective and then cover the other two as we go along. And I found that to be it has more of an impact and is actually a little more efficient. Okay, and you cover a lot of ground that way. So that's what we'll be doing. We're going to kick things off in a big way with 3-point perspective. Okay, so right off the bat, let me show a few examples of what we will be doing and what I want to. Let me lay these out. All right, let me put that there. And let me put this. Let me get this out of the way. Sorry. Make sure the silly camera doesn't blur. All right, so we've got those two. Okay, so yeah, what I want, I'm gonna come back to this in a second. So before I forget, let me let you know right off the bat what you're going to need in terms of supplies. Let me put a clean sheet on top of this real quick. All right, what you're gonna need in terms of supplies for this, for basically all your perspective drawings. Starting with this one, all you're gonna need is a pencil. You don't have to get anything fancy schmancy. Just get like a lead holder or a number 2 pencil, whatever. These, you don't have to get anything expensive. These, you can get a full pack of these for like $4 or $5 in Target, in your grocery store, in the stationery section, at Office Depot, wherever you can find these things all over the place, and they are very useful. And you can get the lead separately. Some of them come in the packs, so go look for those. What you will need is a short 6-inch ruler, nice short 6-inch ruler. You will also need a long 12-inch ruler, and what I recommend is the same way this 6-inch ruler is transparent and clear, get a 12-inch ruler that is just as transparent and clear. I just happen to have this here. My clear ruler happens to be missing right now, so what I will be using as an alternative will be this nice 60 by 30 degree triangle, which has a nice long edge. And the reasoning for that is there are going to be times when you're going to need to draw very short lines, and the best thing to use for drawing short lines is the short ruler. It gets it done quickly. If you try and use the long ruler for that, it's very unwieldy. Okay, and then of course you're going to have to draw some long lines that span the whole page, and that's where the long ruler comes in handy. So you're going to have to switch gears. They even have rulers that are, I think, 3 inches or 4 inches long, and sometimes I find myself using those as well, when I'm doing like little intricate details in my drawings. So that, and what else? An eraser. I usually like this particular brand. Nobody's paying me any money for this, okay? I'm not getting any sponsorship deals, so, but I love these white Pentels. They erase in a very nice, clean manner without giving you like a whole lot of smudge or anything like that. And what I would also suggest too, where did that thing go? There we go. You can get, they have brushes that are specifically made for cleaning up eraser, the dirt that comes from the eraser, or you can just get a brush like this, make sure it's dry, and when you erase stuff, just sweep it away and clean up your paper. Keeps your paper nice and clean. All right, so that's that. I'm going to set these aside and grab them as I get started. So let me set these over here somewhere. And move this guy. All right, so with 3-point perspective, each it's going to be, these videos are going to be multiple parts, and they will be in 2 sections or 2 stages. The first stage in well, first of all, let's talk about 3-point perspective. In 3-point perspective, you're dealing with 3 vanishing points, okay? So you have a first vanishing point, a second vanishing point, and then a third vanishing point, okay? But the thing about the third vanishing point is that the vanishing point can be above the horizon line, and you want to keep it high above the horizon line. In some cases, you'll probably want your vanishing point to get like really high off the page. There are going to be cases where you're going to need to do that. Let me point high above the page. And then you're going to have some third vanishing points that are at the bottom of the page, below the horizon line. All right? So here's how the multiple parts thing is going to work. Stage one, we will do all our examples will be with the vanishing point at the top of the page. Okay, and I'm going to first start by doing at least 3 boxes. I'll do 3 boxes and show how those are constructed and drawn, and that will consist of a few parts, and I'll do that strictly in pencil and yeah, one more supply. Just get a regular black ballpoint pen or a blue one if you want. Add that to the supply list, okay? So pencil and the black ballpoint pen, that's what we're going to do the first example in. We're going to work everything out with that. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the process. We're still in the first stage, stage 1. I'm going to repeat the process, but I'm going to do it in color. So still with the third vanishing point at the top of the page, but I will be using colored pens to help differentiate the construction lines from the actual finished boxes. And so that will, you know, we can cover this thing in a pretty thorough fashion, and you guys can rewind the videos and check out how the construction lines are put together, where they fall, all that kind of stuff. So if you get confused with this, you'll have this. You'll have a video with colored lines to refer to and see things more clearly. At least that's my calculation. That's my logic behind it. All right, so that will be stage 1, which will be multiple parts. Stage 2 will be the same thing, same exact thing, but we will be focusing on the vanishing point, the third vanishing point being at the bottom of the page below the horizon line. So you will have a black and white version and a color version. Okay? All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We're almost 10 minutes in, so let me start with the first box. Okay, I'm going to set these aside. All right. Again, another supply you'll need will be 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. You can get reams of that at Target, Office Depot. I've even seen some at the grocery store, starting at like $3, $4, and onwards, depending on the quality of paper. And the great thing about getting reams of multi-purpose or printer paper to draw on is that you can get them you can get like 250 sheets, 500 sheets, 750 sheets at a nice low price. Okay, so these are great to have. All right, so we're going to get started. 8.5 by 11. This is your landscape orientation. For 3-point perspective, we are going to start at the portrait orientation. Okay. All right, so at that point, all right, this video is going to run a little longer than expected, but I'm going to get started with the first box, okay? All right, let me make sure I'm centered properly. All right. Okay, so remember this diagram. Remember this diagram? So we're going to start by drawing our first box below the horizon line. So let's see what this looks like in 3-point perspective. So what we're going to do is we are going to, somewhere in the middle of this, imagine that this little border is your paper, like the edge of your paper, okay? I made it a little smaller so it could fit on the camera and you guys could see what I'm doing more clearly. So I'm going to start maybe somewhere in the middle here a little bit, just below the middle. All right. Okay, lay down your horizon line and I'll just label it HL at one end, HL at the other end. And you want to start with 2 vanishing points, and they can be anywhere, but you want them to be as far apart as possible. So I'm going to put mine within the space, but as close to the edge as possible. So that will be vanishing point number 1, or VP.1, and vanishing point number 2, VP2. My third vanishing point, which will be up here somewhere, I'm going to put it as far up as I can. And let me make sure it shows up on camera. So somewhere here will be my third vanishing point. And we'll just label that VP3. And if you notice, it's not right down the middle. It's off to the side a little bit. You know what? I'll bring it here. So that will not be my vanishing. This won't be my vanishing point. So that'll be my third vanishing point. And you want that as far up as you can possibly put it on the page. All right. All right, so here's how we get things started. So I want a box below the horizon line, and I'm going to put it here. Okay, so what you do, I'll start with my short ruler. And what you do is you project 2 radiating lines. One like that, and one like that from each vanishing point. So from the first vanishing point, those are my 2 radiating lines, and then the next 2 vanishing points, you want them to intersect with your first 2. Okay, and make sure your vanishing point hits, make sure your lines hit that vanishing point accurately, and you hit the same vanishing point at the same exact place every single time. Okay, so when you do that, that will be the base of your box. What you'll want to do right away is label the 4 corners of your box. What I like to do is label it A, and I'm going to go counterclockwise, A, B, C, and I'm going to put D here. for that one. Okay, A, B, C, and D. Or you can label it any way you want as long as you're keeping track of it. And then as soon as you've done that, what you want to do is project lines from each corner to the third vanishing point. And ooh, I have a bit of a conundrum here where the vanishing point is going to be straight up. The line's going to be straight up. So I'm going to change that because I don't think I'm going to like the way that looks. I'm going to change that again. So I want that to be, you know, maybe somewhere here. Like so. So that'll be my VP3, my new VP3 right there. All right. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to project from each corner straight through to that vanishing point. Okay, so there's C, and as I project C, I will just make sure I label the line C. I've got the corner labeled as C, just label the line as C, because you're going to see what's going to happen very quickly and why, the logic behind me doing that. That'll be D. That'll be A, like that. And then come to B. Ooh, B's getting awfully close to D. You're going to want to try and avoid that. And then, yeah, that's all 4 of our lines. So I'll make sure I label this as B so I don't get them confused. Okay, so we've projected all those lines up to vanishing point 3. We want to create our box. What you need to do is determine the height of your box. And what I personally like to do is to determine the height of my box from the back edge of that box, okay? So what I'm going to do, and we want this box to be below the horizon line. So I'm going to just place the height of my box right here. This will be the height of my box, and I'm going to call that A1. So A1 with maybe a little line pointing to it. And as soon as you've marked that, what you need to do, get my small ruler, because the connection from A to B, and we have line A, we've got line B, because this connection corresponds with this vanishing point, you want to connect from vanishing point 1 straight through the corner, that point A1, which will become the new corner, or the top corner. Okay, so you've got A1, that automatically, we've run that line through, it goes through A1, it hits line B, that instantly gives you B1, the corner of B1. Okay, once you've got B1, the connection from B to C corresponds with vanishing point 2, so following the same logic, you want to connect that corner of B1, that point of B1 to vanishing point 2 straight through, and then as it goes straight through, it intersects with line C, giving you point C1 or corner C1. And then the connection from C to D, C to D, the connection from C to D corresponds with vanishing point number 1. So you want to connect C1 to vanishing point number 1, strike that line through, follow that line to line D. That becomes the new D, that becomes D1. And what you can do, instinctively, what you're going to do is be like, oh, there's the last line. I'm going to connect those 2 points. You can do that, but I encourage my students to, you know what, double check. This is a way of double checking your accuracy with how you've laid things out. And just go ahead and run a line through that new point and that new corner D1. And it should, if you laid things out accurately, it should accurately connect to A1. And Mine does, but it's a little bit off, okay? And you're gonna get that sometimes, and so when that happens, don't let that freak you out. Just remember, okay, I was a little off somewhere. I'll just have to be accurate with the way I connect my points moving forward. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just outline, use my pen to harden the lines, harden the outline of the box so that it pops and you guys can see it on camera, on screen. There we go. Trying to be fast, but trying to be a little accurate at the same time. But at the same time, I don't want to rush it too much, because I hate it when, I've always hated it when I'm in class and the professor is just rushing through stuff and I don't catch the vital information. And it throws me off completely as the term or the semester goes on. All right, so even though you guys can see the back edges of the box, I'm gonna just dot them in. Like that. Just to differentiate those edges and those lines a lot further, to help make things a lot clearer. Okay, so there we have it. There we have, my camera keeps shaking. Sorry about that. So there we have our first box. So a few things to pay attention to. With three-point perspective, the edges of your box, because the third vanishing point determines the edge, the vertical edge, they will always slant. Okay, they will always slant at an angle. They'll always be at a slight incline, because their shape, their configuration is being dictated by this third vanishing point. Now, if you wanted to straighten it, the further up you place that vanishing point, this will never come to like a 90 degree, a complete 90 degree angle, but it will, the angle will straighten out a little bit more the further up the third vanishing point is. Okay, so remember, you have your horizon line. The horizon line determines the eye level with which somebody is looking at this box, and based on the person's eye level and say distance from the box, based on the vanishing points, where the vanishing points are, and based on vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2, and vanishing point 3. Based on the placement of these, it determines how this box looks to the person that's looking at it, the imaginary person. Okay. All right, so that is the first box below the horizon line that we've covered. In the next video, we'll go on to another box. But before I mention that, observe that with the box below the horizon line, you can only see the top of the box and the sides. You can't see the bottom. So pay attention to that, and we'll see what parts of the box you can see based on their placement as we move further along. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. This is Stractify, covering drawing and composition techniques and concepts, and we are in the perspective drawing series, specifically 3-point perspective. I will see you in the next video. Take care.